Today I want to talk about sUSDS, the largest yield-bearing product on chain, with around 6.5 billion in TVL and which paid around 240 million in interest to its holders. The only way to get a hit as a USDS or sUSDS holder is why allocators should actually trust this. Hi, I'm Piotr Saczuk, founder of Osero, one of the independent agents within the Sky protocol ecosystem. And today I want to talk about sUSDS, the largest yield-bearing product on chain, with around 6.5 billion in TVL and which paid around 240 million in interest to its holders from the inception in September 2024. So we're gonna cover who takes the risks, how the loss waterfall looks like, and where the yield actually comes from. All right, so where the yield actually comes from. So the journey starts with the user. User is depositing the capital to the PSM, PEG Stability Module, which is a smart contract maintaining part of the Sky protocol liquidity. The capital comes in the form of USDC or USDS, and PSM always provides opportunity to swap one-to-one with no slippage between those two assets. PSM can turn this capital into sUSDS, the yield-bearing version, and this is what we're talking about today. This capital goes through PSM to the Sky protocol, which is a set of decentralized smart contracts governed by the token holders. Sky protocol then provides this capital to the agent network in form of USDS loans. So we at Osero are one of those agents, but there are others. It's 5 of us. So Osero, Spark, Grove, Obex, and Keel. We take those loans and allocate them into different kind of venues, which later on gonna pay us interest. So what is actually the collateral composition? So big part is sitting in stablecoins, USDC mainly, earning the underlying T-bill yield. It's at 52%. Then the on-chain lending, it's structured only around the blue chip assets and their derivatives, so Bitcoin and ETH. Next, we got OTC lending. It's structured similar way, also with the same kind of assets, but here rather legal agreements are bonding and not the smart contracts. Then the T-bills, it's 14.5% of the collateral composition, and the underlying yield is coming from Janus Henderson and fund, as well as the BlackRock's Biddle. When it comes to corporate debt, AAA corporate debt, it's 4.5% of the allocation. And once again, we see Janus Henderson, JAAA, CLO fund, as well as Securitize Stack CLO fund. And then lastly, 2% in the bracket called others. Here we can see private credit and basis trade. So all of those allocations, after the agent network gonna allocate the money, gonna pay interest back to the agents, which need to pay the borrowing cost, so interest to the Sky protocol for the loan we've taken earlier. And this interest through PSM is accrued at the user level, who is holding sUSDS. So the yield-bearing token accruing in value, so everything is automatic, and only thing you need to do is to hold the asset. Okay, so who actually is bearing this risk and what's gonna happen? Who gonna take the hit if collateral gonna get compromised, if maybe we're gonna have problems with Oracle, there gonna be some bad debt and so on. The waterfall loss of Sky Protocol is easy to understand, and the whole risk framework is based on Basel III regulation, introduced after 2008, after financial crisis. And this is the same framework regulators use to assess if banks are in healthy position or rather not. So Sky Protocol took those best practices and adapted them to DeFi. So let's look what is happening here. The risk is split among different parties in the ecosystem in this way that the users, the holders of USDS or sUSDS, are at the bottom and are the most protected party in the whole setup. So the loss waterfall gonna be going this direction. All right. So at the top, we got junior risk capital, the most junior tranche in the whole setup. This is held by agents, so us like Osero or the others. If we want to borrow from the Sky protocol, we need to post our own junior risk capital in the ecosystem. This aligns our incentive with other parties there. So if we would misallocate, if anything would happen, the first loss would be covered by junior risk capital. So the tranche, which is only sitting with the agents, it got nothing in common with the sUSDS holders. Then we got stability capital buffer. This is mezzanine risk capital. This is sitting in the middle, protocol level. And if junior risk capital will be exhausted, only then the loss would come down to this level and start drowning that. And lastly, we got Sky Protocol, which is sitting on senior risk capital. And once again, only if those two tranches would be exhausted, the loss would start hitting this bracket. Altogether, it's at the moment around 180 mil of capital. But what would happen if some really exceptional event would occur? In normal circumstances, if the NAV of the position would start going down and we would start seeing the loss, we would withdraw any position. The bad debt gonna be covered by that. But if that would be enough, not enough in the extreme scenarios, then we got two options. First is Sky backstop. So Sky token, the governance token for the whole protocol, would be minted and sold to cover the remaining amount. And as the last resort, we got USDS haircut. So as you can see, only at the end and in extreme event, the loss would come to the USDS holders. So they are in the most secure position in the whole setup. What's important to add, and I put on the table, is liquidity. So all of the whole collateral composition is designed in a way that time to liquidity is very short. There's more than 4 billion in instant liquidity, and 9 billion could be liquidated in up to 3 days. So the liquidity profile is also really great. If anything would start happening, there is enough of time to withdraw positions before we go down within this structure. And important to add is that all of this you can model on your own at one of the independent dashboards at the Sky protocol. So you can play around and understand in what market circumstances and what kind of losses, what would happen to you as USDS holder or to all of those brackets. So you can go and check it by yourself. Why allocators should trust us. So a few points around that. And I wanted to start with the track record history, as I believe in this context, it's very important as we're building on more than a decade of innovation and experience. So let's come from today to the inception, 2015. This is when the whole idea was created. And the founder, Rune Christensen, came up with the idea for e-dollar. So that was even before the Ethereum mainnet was live. Also, the same year, the maker holders, the token holders, been granted the governance rights within the protocol. Coming next, 2017, we see DAI, the first over-collateralized decentralized stablecoin, so-called CDP as well. Then at 2020, we reached full decentralization. The Maker Foundation was dissolved, and the only governing body is pretty much the token holders. At 2021, you can see RWA, very buzzy words at the moment. But first RWA onboarded to DeFi at scale. This has been done at Maker DAO. So once again, a lot of innovation on this timeline. 2024, MakerDAO changed, rebranded to Sky. As DAI is still live, USDS is the main asset, and sUSDS is the yield-bearing version of that. So we're building on more than a decade of an experience. And last year, 2025, S&P Global issued official credit rating for the sUSDS, first decentralized asset in history to receive one. And today, the agentic network is live. Agents like us, Osero, are looking for the best opportunities to allocate USDS from the Sky protocol and get the best risk-adjusted yield to sUSDS holders. I wanted to talk a little bit about security. So look at DAI. This probably been the first smart contract or the first protocol product which went through official verification, which we call today smart contract audit. Then there is over 30 public reports available on the Sky website by auditors like Cantina, Sherlock, Chain Security, and Trail of Bits. And beside of that, there are 3 independent technical teams within the Sky protocol, which are taking care of monitoring the whole infrastructure, and they're running their own security processes. When it comes to transparency, all of this data, as I said, you can check live. It's publicly available on 2 independent dashboards within the Sky ecosystem. You can model the waterfall of losses. You can have a look into the balance sheet, revenue, any cash flows, and so on, provided to you live every day. And lastly, liquidity. I spoke about that a little bit. 4 billion being in the protocol available for instant withdrawals, and 9 billion of the collateral of the balance sheet could be withdrawn within the 3 days. All of the assets on the balance sheet are rather short duration and investment grade. So now you know what sUSDS is. I believe you know where the yield is coming from, who bears the risk. And if you would like to get to know more or allocate, you can come to osero.org and contact us there. Thank you.